And indeed a reminder of Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that was made in 1945 after the World War II. And one of the cardinal points in Article 19 is the freedom of speech, that is one inalienable right given to all mortals here. Somehow the vibrancy coming in from the beginning end, right activists all firing from all cylinders, wanting indeed that their voice will be heard, that in a democracy people must be allowed to ventilate. The majority will always have their way, but certainly the minority should. And if they don't have their way, they should always have their say, and that is what we do. Okay, this morning we'll be shifting conversation away from that freedom of speech, the issue of Kwadepaye and a very dark man that being sent here. We'll be shifting a little bit to the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, that someone said jammed the Nigerian student yesterday and jammed them very hard. There was this talk about the fact that students need to go and read. When the result was released yesterday, the failure was very astronomical, very disturbing, and JAMB may not give reason, but they just come forward and say, okay, these are the list of, these are the scores of students. A few got above 322, few got above 300, and many of them, no, a little number of them hang between 200 and 300, while the massive number of them was within 155, 150 to 200. That means there is massive failure. They did not get to the 200 threshold that many persons are looking at. Why some did not even appear at all, others actually went below sea level. Okay, that is the statistic there on the screen. If you look at it, the first one there is 200 and above. You could see how high it is. There's 0.4%, 320 and above. The second is 300 to 319. That's about 7,500 for a whole nation. That's about 0.39%. The other one is 300 and above, and that one is still within the counts around 12,400. The other one is 250 to 299, 70, 1,000 or so. The other one is 200 to 249. They tried a little. Then you have 150 to 150 to 199. That's where the bulk of persons actually are gathered. 140 to 150 we got a bulk, and then we come down to the cycle of failure. Okay, quickly, let's play you that clip by senior education correspondent here, Comfort Idoko, and when we come back, we'll introduce you to our guest.
The just concluded 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examinations (UTME) conducted by the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board (JAMB) has culminated in widespread underperformance among candidates, igniting debates over systemic issues within Nigeria's education sector. According to JAMB, out of 1,955,069 candidates who sat for the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, over 1.5 million of them scored less than 200 in the exam. The statistical analysis of 2025 UTME results released by the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board (JAMB) on Monday indicated that only 420,415 candidates scored above 200 in the 2025 edition of the UTME. The data showed that 75% of candidates scored below 200 in the exam, with less than 1% scoring above 300. JAMB further stated that 40,247 underage candidates were permitted to demonstrate their exceptional abilities. However, only 467 of these candidates, 1.16%, achieved scores that met the threshold of exceptional ability as defined for the UTME, with their performance in the subsequent 3 stages still pending. The outcome of the 2025 UTME have highlighted critical areas needing reform within Nigeria's educational framework, addressing infrastructural deficiencies, updating curricula, and enhancing teacher training are essential steps towards improving student performance and restoring confidence in the nation's education system. From Abuja, Comfort Idoko, ITV News.
Okay, thank you very much, education correspondent Comfort Idoko there. Thank you. Now it's not time for us to start to x-ray what really went wrong. What really went wrong? It's time for post-mortem. Let's x-ray what went wrong here. The Nigerian students appear to have failed woefully. What is the problem? Why yesterday so much articles were written, shared online across various media platforms and the social media, some blaming and others. Now we're not being joined in the studio by Reverend Amoye Simon Moses. He's a clergy, he's a public affairs analyst here. Maybe some, the clergy sometimes these into human rights activism. Thank you very much. And we are also hoping to be joined by senior researcher of the University of Abuja, that's Dr. Lakule Oluwaseun. We'll jump by him later to know what his thoughts are. But let's quickly take you now. Let's get your first overall view. The mass failure in JAMB. What's your take?
It's thank you very much for having me first. I appreciate viewers and every person that is part of this program this morning. When it comes to education, and especially what we have just seen, the release of the results by JAMB, education is like an output. You have all the inputs that come into education, but then when the achievement test comes, you begin to see the output. All your effort for the past years comes to bear. And so this result that we have seen come out since yesterday, and more, I believe the analysis will be going on as time goes forward, indicates that what have happened or what is happening within the system. And it now calls upon every stakeholder, every person, every interested parent, citizen, let's all begin to x-ray even more what's happening within the education sector. And why are we having this kind of failures at this level? Remember that this is JAMB, it's an in-house thing, but then if you take these candidates outside of our own system, that's outside of our own educational sector, their performance dominate the world. Exactly. So what's happening within our system and why are we having this? Many things come to mind. First, you have the issue of poor preparation. You have the issue of infrastructure, availability of infrastructure for students to be able to participate or to practice what they're going to do. You have the issue of poor preparation by teachers now, and the morale of teachers, morale of staff, morale of the learning environment of JAMB in itself, and all of those, and many other things that we'll begin to look at. But my take at the first instance is that this calls for us all to begin to x-ray the issues even beyond this.
What we are going to do here is to start with the first point is x-ray the issues. Now, there's so much talk about the reading culture declining, and many persons have yesterday it came to the fore when the result came out in the morning. Everyone talk about declining reading culture. People no longer read. Do you share that school of thought?
While I do share that school of thought, I seem to be a little bit maybe divergent on it, just a little, because when we look at education generally, what is education and what does it mean to be educated? When we talk about education and we just streamline it to reading, today we have technologies that have gone beyond just a book and a pen somewhere, and you have to just do that now. Education with what has happened within our generation, education have gone beyond that. Education is the transmission of knowledge, all knowledge, from one generation to another in order to assure the survival of the species. Now, if we take that, it means that whatsoever we do to transmit knowledge from one generation to another is education. Reading is a major part of it, but we should remember that it's not just reading alone. And the reading culture that we're talking about here, I see it quite getting more and more difficult to get students, those in class or those that should be in school, to sit down 3-4 hours of a day and just read their books. But on their tablets, on their phones, on the internet, on the television, on the radio, you could have them spend countless hours to be able to learn. And I think that is where the emphasis should be. Many of the youths that failed in JAMB, many of the young men and women that participated and had low scores in JAMB, if you ask them, the number of hours they sat in class or sat on their own to study for JAMB, does not come close to compare to the number of hours they were on a phone or on a tablet or on social media or somewhere, let me put the word now, wasting time. That time can be converted to be learning time, and that will go a long way to improve their education. Again, we should remember that even the morale of the student to learn is very, very low at this point. You can carry out a research, go to any secondary school, and you find pupils as, at those in, let's say, JS1, as we want to call it today, they don't even want to, when you talk about schooling, they tell you, I want to make money. The morale for students, the motivation to learn, the formal education, if I must put it that way, it's quite low. In those days, we used to have what they call the presidential handshake, the governor handshake, and all of that. Award and all of those.
Whatever.
Where are those things now? So if
those handshake doesn't bring money,
he doesn't bring money.
And they ask you who handshake help.
They are not
and the concept of education has scam.
So all of those things come to play. But let me put it this way: you have a class of, let's say, 150.
Yeah.
That's a very small school in Nigeria. You have a class of 150, and because the class knows that there's a competition and the local government chairman is coming and is going to shake hands with students, even if the 150 do not study, maybe 20 or 30 will take out time to study a little bit better so that they will have the opportunity to shake. Now, the knowledge they have gained and the discipline that they gain within that period of time is going to be with them for the rest of their lives. But all of those incentives and all of those thinking have gone away. And nothing is wrong that we introduce the presidential handshake with a 10 million naira prize on it. I don't think there's anything wrong. You shake the president, you get a 10 million naira prize. I think a lot of people will get back to reading their books with that kind of money at stake. But it is not in existence. I think the Lagos State was doing something like that. I think it was during, what's the name of that governor that will always have a kid who have to spend a day acting as governor around Lagos. Yeah, I think so. I think the person before Ambode, I've forgotten the name, but I knew it existed. Now those kind of incentives are not there. Fashola, thank you. Those incentives seem not to be there, and so students more and more are being thrown into the reality, or beginning to see that as though this career path, this education path, does not have so much.
No. Look about JAMB. Let's look at JAMB in itself, because as we x-ray this, it takes 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 to tango here. The government, the JAMB, the parents, the students, and all of that. Now let's look at JAMB in itself here.
Yeah.
Do you think some are already blaming JAMB that they have a culture where people fail massively this year? There will be an outcry to scrap JAMB. Next year they will pass very well. That outcry will die. The other year they will fail massively. The other year they will pass massively.
And
why this leapfrogging? Just keep leapfrogging.
Maybe you could say they are playing on the intelligence of every other person, but I don't think that is the problem. The problem seems to stem. One of the reasons you have students fail exams a lot is when the exam itself is complicated or is so difficult for them to handle. And we should also remember that beyond JAMB, I'm not addressing the JAMB question now, but beyond JAMB is the availability of spaces within universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education to be able to accommodate all the people that pass. For example, you have in the universities across board in Nigeria, I don't know for today, but let us imagine that you have 250, let's say, I can't get the figure off my head, but I know we don't have 2 million admissions slots in the universities across board, polytechnics and colleges of education. So when JAMB, I don't hold breeze for them, but when JAMB have this outcry, scrap JAMB, do all of that, and then you see students sit up. Again, another thing you could see that maybe the exams are made a little bit more malleable, but then again you could see that another motivation could be when students fail terribly this year, those that are going to be writing JAMB next year are motivated to study harder, to prepare better, to practice more, and so when they write, they are able to be able to perform better. But again, as humans as we are, every once in a while it keeps leapfrogging.
Okay, I think we are hoping to be joined by Dr. Lalekan Oluwaseun, a research consultant. We are hoping that we will be joined by him very soon, so that we keep the conversation ongoing. If he's on the line, let's take it there. Hello, Doc.
Yeah, good morning.
A very wonderful morning. You are on to Independent Television. How is University of Abuja this morning?
Oh, we thank God.
Okay, Dr. let's get your view first. Yesterday, let me speak like some of the guys in the local palace. JAMB, don't jam us. And the kids are not smiling, doctor. They are not smiling. The kids are not smiling. And what's your take on the abysmal failure yesterday?
There are several issues surrounding the decline in our educational institutions.
Okay.
And until these issues are sorted out from the preliminary levels, I don't think we are ever going to have a headway.
What are the issues and who will do the sorting?
Fine. We need a total reconfiguration of our educational system.
Okay.
And by the way, let me set this record straight again, because this has always been my position over the years, that look, it is not everybody that deserves to go to higher institutions. That is not the point.
That means you are saying we shouldn't flaunt PhD the way you are doing, the way you get this honor. We need to flaunt PhD.
You see, PhDs are off. In fact, if they call you a PhD holder, you should be a critical thinker. You should be able to provide solutions to problems. What I'm trying to say in essence is that there is a serious problem in our educational institution, right from primary school level. You know, once the foundation is bad, it becomes a problem. It's just like you building a house and having a bad foundation. Definitely the house is going to collapse one day. How come we now have a situation where more than half of the students who sat for JAMB did not even score up to 200, which implies that over 50 of them did not score up to 200, over 50% out of 100%. That is unacceptable. However, these issues can only be addressed from the preliminary levels. Imagine a situation where we have millions of people writing JAMB every year. We have universities that cannot cater for their admission. You see, the point is just simple. We need a total overhauling of our educational institutions, right from basic levels.
But hello, doctor. Some are blaming the students for not reading, that they are TikToking, Facebooking, WhatsApping, and social media in. While some are blaming their parents for not taking time to go through them. Some are blaming the government. Some are blaming you and your colleagues in the academia for not teaching very well. Some are blaming. Everybody is blaming everybody.
Well, I can assure you that truly there are people who don't teach well. I agree. There are people who don't do the right thing in our educational institutions. I agree. But what I can tell you is that a child who already had a bad foundation cannot cope in the university system. Come to the university system and come and see what we are producing. Come and see students. You will even be teaching in student class at times. Students are pressing phones. They are not concentrating. We have students who can make judicious use of artificial intelligence, but they do not have the critical thinking to interpret whatever artificial intelligence gives them. People often forget that artificial intelligence is a product of natural intelligence. It is all about ego. It is what people have put into the system out there that the system gives back to you once you ask these questions. People wrote these things. If you are not sound academically, you have no business looking for admission in universities. Universities are meant for people who are into critical thinking. And we now have a situation, we have a lot of courses that are no longer relevant in our educational institutions. We continue to establish universities that we cannot fund. The existing ones are not being funded well. We continue to establish universities up and down. The point is just that the cause of this major problem is from the students. I cannot blame the government for it. It is the students and parental care. Parenting style is gradually deteriorating. It is gradually deteriorating. You know, you see children of 16, 15, 14 years not even getting serious about life. You see them on TikTok flaunting unnecessary instrument of social pleasure, flaunting social gadgets, and typing stuff like God when what have you done in life? A child of 16 years, what have you done? So there are so many issues to this. Imagine we have secondary schools where people sit for what we call special centers.
Miracle centers.
Miracle centers. If you get your result through miracle, can you get your university degree also through miracle? Can you write all your exams through miracle?
You can't even get JAMB through miracle.
Which is not, that is what is happening. Because most of these children are so spoiled to the extent that they don't even want to do anything. There are parents that are trying. I can assure you of this. There are parents that are trying. So universities should be meant for exceptional students. It's not just that you, okay, imagine you are telling somebody who scored 140 out of 400 to come and study in the university.
So 140. With this one now, 140 is good. What about those who score 75 or 63?
Those people should write JAMB as many times as possible.
140 is this one. 140 is a big one here.
An average score.
140 is the average now.
140, even the 140 is highly insignificant.
I agree with you.
A country that wants the best for its educational institution will not be taking about 30% of the total score or 40% of the total score to seek for admission. Where is it done? It is not done anywhere. The minimum we should always opt for should be 50%.
Now, let me take you on the last question before I come back to Reverend Amoye Simon Moses here. Quickly, but one thing about this is, Doctor, when most of these kids leave the shores of this country, and all of you who have also gone out, you top the scale in other civilizations. How did this miracle happen?
It is because our system also is a bit bad, whether we like it or not. The learning environment is not conducive for students. You see a student working under the hot sun, a lecturer frustrating a student, a teacher frustrating a student. There is no peace of mind for students to learn. However, this occurred to only few among students, because even some of us attended Nigerian universities and we knew how we went through hell to get things done. If you are serious on your own and you want the best for yourself, I don't think a bad system should be a factor for you not to be serious. However, it is a very important factor to look at, that our system is bad. And the result that was released is a product of the bad system. When I talk about the system, we are talking about the family system, the educational system, the political system, all sorts of social institutions that guides the governance of the society. So things about, we need a total reconfiguration. And let me also be sincere with you that most of these children need character reconfiguration. You know, most of them they are fond of even looking at lecturers.
But some people have argued within the fact that you are a social researcher. Some have argued that when it comes to the academia, sometimes we should take morality out and face it without morality. But you are asking for a blend or a mixture of morality and the issue of knowledge.
We cannot take morality out of our society. It is not possible. That is not possible.
But your fellow American researchers are arguing that very strongly.
That is America. American society is different from Nigerian society. Our pattern of behavior and sense of dialogue differ. It's a developed country. Do we have all the facilities they have? We don't. So you don't always compare Nigeria to some of these countries. When our students go to a better system, they perform well. Isn't it?
Correct.
That's
correct.
America. There are some of them that are also excellent in this country. Things are just bad generally. Let me cite an example. I know of 3 first-class students. 3 first-class students, exceptional students, who are still carrying their bags up and down on the street. So people no longer cherish education. People just feel, let us just go to school to get certificates.
They even sang a song, education has come.
Of course. But if they think education is a scam, they should try ignorance. Because let me even tell you, the reality of Nigeria today is that education does not cure poverty. It only cures ignorance and gives you knowledge.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Laleko, thank you very much for the time you share with us. Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you very much. You hit it very hard, and we hope others will learn. Thank you. Now, let's get your take. Okay. He sounds more like a clergy saying we should mix morality and the parents.
And I agree with that.
Yeah. But do you think, let's touch on the parents as our time flies. What I know, when we are young, our father will tell you, bring your book, read your book, bring your book, Facebook, face your book.
Yeah.
But these days, parents are busy closing the night. Everyone's
because parents are busy trying to make ends meet. There are lots of things to talk about. The time is so small. I hope maybe some other time we can have an expose on this. The fact is, a father goes out, spends the whole day, and yet the money he raised cannot be able to feed his family for 2 meals, and he needs to provide 3. He goes back again. He spends all the day moonlighting 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs and trying to do everything. So when would that father have time? When there's no economic stability, the family will not be stable. And when the father is unable to provide for the family and stabilize his family, even when he tells his son, bring your book, the father will look, the child may look at the father and say, which book did you buy for me? Some parents cannot even afford to pay fees, talk more of buy books or buy additional learning materials. So how do you want the child to improve? So like he said, and like our buttress, if the system is bad, like the Bible will say, if the righteous are scarcely saved, what would the ungodly do? What would they do? So if parents are hardly coping within the system, what would the children do? And so we are having this reaction. It's a painful reality, but we have to face it. Sorry, I think I'll just stop here because I think you still have something.
Okay, no, thank you. I think I will thank you very much for coming, but we just hope and pray that we get it right.
And getting it right is a lot of work. You cannot have.
To work.
We are willing to work, but the strength and the support system to make it work. I have teachers that are working day, night, and every time in between to make sure they succeed at their job. But when they are not motivated, you have a principal that has a school of maybe say from GS1 to SS3, or even just say SS1 to SS3, and he has about 500 students to take care of. Apart from the salary you pay his staff, you can hardly have 500,000 naira a term to take care of the need of the school. When the light is out, there's no fuel for a generator. That's even where the generator exists. You are talking of CBT centers, but how many schools have CBT centers that the students can even practice to go and write?
I will thank you. Thank you very much. It's come to top of the hour, 9 a.m. Reverend Amoye Simon, Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you for coming. Simon Moses, thank you for coming. I want to add that word Moses.
Thank you.
So that if we had to leave Egypt, then we will likely meet you somewhere in Horeb, maybe around the burning bush, and call you 3 times, and off your shoe, and you go to Pharaoh, and you ask us to take us out for election into a promised land. Let's just pray that you will point and not strike the rock.
That's
you will not submit. Then we focus on Dr. Lalekon Oluwaseun. Thank you very much. Okay, that's how far we can go from our Abuja end here on the interview segment. Let's inform you that this morning the House of Reps will be reconvening, and we gathered very strongly that as lawmakers from Benue State would be moving a motion. They will be led by one of their own, Honorable Blessing Onu, to move a motion on the killings in Benue State and Plateau State and others. And so from our Lagos end, Joshua Okata is standing by to discuss the killings in Benue State, which I know for sure will be moved in just about an hour and a half from now.